Good morning, Pokemon fans. Blaze Templar here with another video that isn't IPL related for a change. Isn't that amazing? Anyway, I just kind of felt like doing some OU stuff because that's kind of where I got started and where I get back to every once in a while. I mean, I love UU and stuff, but I haven't been playing lower tiers as much in Gen 6, mostly. I don't know. I mean, I don't know with Gen 6. But anyway, let's go ahead and just get started. No, I don't want to unrated. I was just doing that so I could set up the screens. So let's go ahead and get OU. Now, this is a team I built myself, but it was based off of a team that a friend and I collabed with, which you might see in a moment. Yes, I'm actually having to do this post-narration because the audio got mixed up again, so that's really annoying. Regardless, let's go ahead and get off of the James and I collab. Any moment now, please. Thank you. Anyway, the James and I collabing one is actually a really nice team, but it loses to Stall because it has like Choice Banded Scissor and Latios, which is Specs, which a pretty awesome team, but it just cannot deal with Stall. And with Mega Sableye and company running around, yeah, we needed a little bit more power, and so I got a couple wall breakers this time, being Star Raptor and Kyurem Black. Now this is a Choice Scarf Adamant Kyurem Black, so it does as much damage as possible while sacrificing very little speed, because it is scarfing. Star Raptor, which is a Jolly non-choiced variant, so a lot of people automatically assume Star Raptor is a choiced variant, so that does often give me some advantages. But regardless, looking at this team, I think Star Raptor is a really nice lead. His potential leads are the Heliolisk, the Hydreigon, and I'd honestly say maybe Conkeldurr of his own. So he does decide to lead Conkeldurr himself, which means Star Raptor, really nice opportunity for me. I can just Brave Bird all of the things. It's kind of obvious, but you know what? I don't care. It'll hit most of his team for good damage. I mean, Gliscor won't appreciate the Brave Bird. Empoleon, despite resisting it, probably will be specially defensive, so it won't take that too terribly well. And come on, guy, let's go. Thank you. In comes Gliscor, and the Brave Bird will knock off over half of its HP instantly, which is absolutely just devastating. Just kind of showing you the raw power that Star Raptor has. Now, this is a resistant hit from hitting an Empoleon, which resists. It does 43%. That's huge. So, yeah, but at this point, I can go for the close combat. It's not resisted, and it's weak to it, so it'll do even more. It's just a really nice way to take out steel types. The only reason we're run Heat Wave over one of Star Raptor's reckless moves is for Aegis Slash, and even then, it's kind of pointless. So, yeah, in comes Heliolisk. He knows I'm not Scarfed now, and that does put me in a bit of a pickle. But I do have Rotom. I do have a couple options running around, and honestly, I thought really hard about bringing Conkeldurr in because I'm an Assault Vester, but this is a specially defensive Rotom wash. I usually run physically defensive, but this team really needed the special defense boost, and so I don't take that well, so that's probably Specs. In comes the Hydreigon. He is probably Scarfed. At that time, I was just like, well, my Scarfed Kyurem Black will easily deal with it, so I'm not afraid of it. But I'll Pain Split here, get my Rotom back up to just a little over half, which is nice, and I doubt he's going to want to stay in, so a Volt Switch is kind of what's on the menu. So we'll see how that goes. That was a really nice chunklet of damage. I did get off, though, so thanks to Pain Split, so I'm not too upset about that. And Rotom's back up to good health. So, okay, we're just waiting for him to move, but, yeah, of course. Gliscor comes in, so he's playing a lot smarter now. He's kind of figured out I'm playing a little bit more safe and predictable, as this move does kind of show, but you know what, I don't care. I've got such a lead at this point, I really don't care too much. So, I thought really hard about going for the Willow, but I figured we're just going to Volt Switch, just to threaten it, kind of. And I thought Scissor maybe, but at this point I decided, I believe I go right into Kyurem Black, which with its Scarf, Outrage will just destroy souls. So that's kind of the thought process. And I'm like, if I can get a 3-turn Outrage, it'll put him in a really crippling spot. So in comes the Conkeldurr, gets hit, does 76% damage. It's almost dead, meaning one more will kill, no problem. He goes for the Mach Punch. He really had nothing else he could do at that point. Conkeldurr dies after doing like 40% damage, which that helps him a little bit, but unfortunately I do get the 2-turn, which means he's able to bring in something, and I have to basically find something to go to that could be put to sleep. Really, really frustrating. So, Fortress, figured if he goes for the grass move, that's fine. I resist. If he goes for the poison move, that's fine too. I'm immune. But if he does go put me to sleep, this is the thing I want to sleep the most. But I'm going to try to burn a turn of sleep because this thing doesn't really threaten me. He goes into Gliscor though, and of course I'm still asleep, so I basically have to hard switch out here, which I really didn't want to do, but, you know, when needs a demand. I decide Rotom, it is specially defensive, sure, but it does have the Levitate ability. Unfortunately, he just knocks off, which makes sense, and I lose my leftovers. And I'm kind of hoping he overpredicts here, lets me get a Pain Split off. Or do I just go for Willow? No? Yeah, I went just for the obvious Pain Split, just kind of hoping that I could get my health back. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen, meaning I'm not going to 6-0 him, so there is that. But I don't think he can survive an Outrage at this range. So we're going to go right back to Kyurem Black and go straight for the Outrage. It's early, or late mid, mid-late game, shall we say. Or late mid-game. Late mid-game, there we go. Go for the Outrage. That does 60%, and another one will take it out. I am really hoping for the 3-turn Outrage, because then I could hit something else really hard as it comes in, and that would just give me a little bit more momentum. But especially since most of his team can't take the Outrage at this point, so that's nice. But down goes Venusaur, and really Kyurem is basically, so what are you going to sack now? In comes the Hydreigon. Wow, my brain kind of went offline. And so I'm going to go into Fortress. I don't care if he kills it with like a couple of Dracos, or if he just U-turns, I resist it anyway, so it's not a big deal if he does decide to go for that. So it just kind of was a nice switch for me to go into Fortress, but he does U-turn, safer play. In comes the Gliscor. It's going to get Poison Heal. It's almost back up to full, which is really frustrating, but that's fine. I'm just going to try to wake up and get my rocks up here because I have burned a turn of sleep. Unfortunately, he Sword Dances right away, and I don't wake up, which is absolutely terrifying. So I have to go into something, and honestly, I think Conkeldurr's my best play. If he knocks off, I resist it. If he Earthquakes, I should be able to take 1, maybe even 2. So he does knock off. I resist that, and then the blasted, what do you call it? Earthquake does 50%, so I wasn't able to take 2, but that does put Gliscor in a really rough spot, and with as low as the rest of his team is, he's in a very difficult position. I can either go for Outrage or the Dragon Claw. I decide Dragon Claw will basically take out everything he's got at this point, so I'm okay. And I was like, oh, I'm Scarfed. Oh, apparently Timid Hydreigon outspeeds Adamant Kyurem Black, so that's nice to know. But regardless, now I just go into Scissor, get my Swords Dance up, and I'm not really too scared of this thing, but that did so much more damage than I was expecting. Still, it is Spec, so I'm not too surprised. Anyway, Bullet Punch at this range will basically kill everything he's got, and with +4, yeah, that's just game. And so it was a lot closer than I was expecting. The Draco Meteor I did not expect to kill like that, but it was a pretty good game. A little bit of fun. And we're pushing up. We're in the 1400s at this point. I used to be up in like the 1800s, but then I stopped playing for a while, and effort to get back up in ranks. So that's a thing. Anyway, let's keep moving. Go into the next match, and this will probably be the last one I have. Yeah, I think so. This is a pretty bulky looking team. So the Clefable, I'm not too scared of because I have Mega Scissor. But if it has Flamethrower, it could put me in a very difficult situation, so I have to keep that in mind. Metagross, I'm not too scared of because Mega Scissor can Pursuit Trap that thing all day, every day. Keldeo, that is a bit of a terrifying thing to see, mostly because it outspeeds a lot of my team and it just destroys things. Thankfully, I do have Choice Scarf Kyurem, and the Bolt Strike will basically one-shot. But I'm going to fake the Scarf here and just U-turn. It'll give me some momentum and tell me what this thing's running. Turns out it's a Rocky Helmet. That's nice to know. So at this point, I decide... Rotom? Yeah, Rotom, because I do have the Volt Switch, I have Hydro Pump and Will-O-Wisp, and I know he's going to want to switch, so I don't know what he's going to want to switch into. Figured maybe the Clefable, but still, burn on anything else would have been nice. So he played that nicely enough, and dealt with things okay, so I'm just going to Volt Switch, and unfortunately I am faster than Clefable, which is really annoying, so I'm going to just go straight to Staraptor. He Moonblast, which does way more than I was expecting. I was kind of hoping he'd Flamethrower, but he Moonblasted. In comes the Lando T. Brave Bird does knock off 36%. Unfortunately, I lose my Lando T for basically no purpose whatsoever. But regardless, going to go into Rotom. It's a nice multi-choice, and judging by that damage, it looks like that's AV, Assault Vest, so I just need to get this thing weakened. It's running Discharge, though, so I'm a little confused. Most tend to run, like, Thunderbolt or something, but regardless, getting the Will-O-Wisp off on him, just nice to get some damage off. Discharge really isn't going to do a lot. I'm specially defensive, so, yeah, I think here for a fair bit of time, but I decide Volt Switch is probably my best play, as he decides he doesn't want to play these shenanigans either, so we both Volt Switch, and in comes Clefable, and I decide, you know what, Scissor is a really nice switch in, because I can just Mega Bullet Punch. It'll kill, he can't Flamethrower me, I'll be in great shape there. But he decides to switch to Lando T, which is actually fine, because he is Rocky Helmet. That means I can basically tank all of his hits. So I'm not too worried there. This is a nice opportunity for me to actually go ahead and Swords Dance up and possibly get a sweep going. Unfortunately, that was a little premature. Keldeo still is around, and I really don't want to take a Scald Burn. So I am kind of sort of really scared of that right now, so I kind of have to switch, despite the fact that I can set up all over Lando T. As long as this Keldeo is around, it's kind of pointless. So Scald incoming, which I was afraid of. Thankfully I don't get burned, but at this range I am not looking super hot, so I'm going to just go ahead and Pain Split, get my health back up. And I do get it off on the Clefable, which is not the best thing to Pain Split at this range, but that's okay. So we're just going to Volt Switch again, and I really don't like the fact that I outspeed Clefable here, but I kind of have to go for the Scissor, as he just wishes up, makes sense, and I decide, you know what, I'm going to just Bullet Punch, but it does have the Protect, which means he has only one move he hasn't shown. He's got Wish, Protect, Moonblast, and so I don't know what his last move is yet, but I'm going to go ahead and hard switch back into Rotom. This is really kind of nice for me, and we're going to Willow here, but he does go into Clefable again, which means we're back to this shenanigan. So I was just kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I just decided to Hydro Pump just to kind of whittle away at its health a little more. Then I decided Volt Switch is probably my best play. Knock it down a little bit further, and at this range, I'm not really sure what I want to do. Really, my only option is to continue to go to Scissor, I think, or go to Fortress, which I decide Fortress is my best play, as he shows his last move, which is Toxic. So I am not afraid of this Clefable whatsoever now. Now that I know its full moveset, I'm not worried that it's going to be carrying the moves of Gloom and Doom. So anyway, in comes the sub from Keldeo, which kind of scares me, but I do have Volt Switch. I'll break the sub, take a Secret Sword for my troubles, unfortunately, but now I can go into Choice Scarf Kyurem and just Bolt Strike this thing into Annihilation. So that's my plan, is just go straight for the Bolt Strike, kill it, no problem. Really nice way to deal with Keldeo. But in comes Metagross. I'm a little afraid of the Pursuit myself, but at the same time, I'm not too worried, so I'm just going to go ahead to hard switch. And I'm like, well, if he goes for the metal move, I can deal with it okay, and then burn it, and it took a little while for that to switch over, but anyway, we're going to Pain Split here, but the Hammer Arm takes me out no problem, unfortunately, and that slows him down a little bit, But now I can go into Scissor, and I am going to predict him to want to switch out because he can't really do much. I'm going to Pursuit, get knocked, almost half of his HP knocked off. In comes Lando. Not terribly afraid of it. We're going to go ahead and Roost, predicting him to go for the Earthquake. Unfortunately for me, that's a bad misplay. So he just gets his rocks up kind of for free, but now I can Swords Dance up and now Roost back up. So at this range, I am looking a lot better, but at the same time, I don't know if I want to try to risk the Hidden Power Fire, which I don't think Raikou carries, but it could be possible, and I don't want to risk not one-shotting this thing. So I'm going to go into Conkeldurr, and I'm like, if he paralyzes me, that's fine. I'll just get the Guts boost to be even stronger, and then I can just go for the Mach or Drain Punch, which will deal with it no problem. So I decided to go for Drain Punch. Unfortunately, I'm paralyzed. I'm going, okay, whatever. I'll Mach Punch this turn and kill it, which will be great. Unfortunately, I do get paralyzed again, so that's annoying. But at this range, I decide I'm just going to go for the knockoff and get rid of its item if it doesn't attack me, which is exactly what happens. So I'm not in a bad situation, but at this range I really want to keep Conkeldurr around, and since I do have a spinner, I can get rid of the rocks and basically be in a nice position. But he does play this nicely, goes for the U-turn, and then goes into Raikou, who dies to rocks, so the rocks stay up, which is annoying. But Fortress is still around, and I can take any one hit from basically any of his remaining mons, unless he's got Fire Blast on his Tyranitar, which I don't think is the case. He does Hammer Arm, go figure. I get my rocks off, Rapid Spin, and so now I'm going to Volt Switch here, which I thought maybe I'd outspeed at this point, but no. Mega Metagross has like 110 speed, so it's really quick. But regardless, going to go ahead and Volt Switch out into Scissor, and the switch is pretty obvious, so I decide I'm going to Pursuit again, just get rid of the Metagross. I know he's going to want to switch, and at that point he does give up, knowing that my Scissor can run right over what remains of his team. So his team kind of had a Scissor weakness once his Keldeo and Raikou went down, which is kind of unfortunate for him. But that does put me up to 1433. It's really annoying, the fact that I'm only gaining like 17 points a battle despite winning each battle, so yeah. But regardless, we're slowly rising up on the ranks, and I guess I don't really have a lot of room to complain. But regardless, I figured it was time. Let's get another battle going and see how things go. So there we go. We have finally gotten another video out that isn't IPL related, so yay us. See you on the next one, and hopefully we'll have some more stuff for you soon. Later.